Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tony, and I'm the Managing Director for Great Place to Work Philippines. I'm happy to welcome you to the first session of our two-part webinar series, Why Your Employer Brand Matters in Times of Transition. Before we begin, here are some gentle reminders so we can get the most from this session. For good audio experience, everyone's microphones are muted. But we do want to engage with you and to make this an interactive session. So I encourage you to use the Zoom chat function to share your comments and questions at any point during the session. And we'll also have a time allotted for you to ask questions later on. This session will be recorded for future playback. A video copy will be available at Great Place to Work Philippines website for you to view and to share with your colleagues. We do have an exciting agenda today. We are joined by a good mix of participants, those who are part of our community, Great Place to Work friends and clients, and those who are joining us for the very first time. So let me start by introducing Great Place to Work, and then we will proceed to an engaging dialogue with our guest, Cathy Ileto. And of course, we want to engage in a dialogue with you too, so we have allotted time for audience Q&A later on. Our Great Place to Work mission, I do love talking about our social mission. At Great Place to Work, every client interaction is important to us because it is an opportunity for us to build a better world by helping organizations become great places to work for all. Great Place to Work is a global authority on workplace culture. We are the data scientists behind the Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For list since 1998. Using our rigorous methodology, we gather and evaluate high-trust, high-performance workplace cultures. Every year, we conduct the world's largest study of workplace excellence and hold the gold standard benchmarks with over 140 best workplaces lists published globally. And Great Place to Work has presence in over 90 countries. But then what do we provide our clients? Well, business leaders, research institutions, and public all rely on the Great Place to Work trust model as what they see as the definitive standard of what it means to be a great workplace. Through our certification program, our Great Workplaces lists, and our culture consulting services, thousands of organizations each year use our Trust Index model to assess their workplace and benchmark themselves against the best workplaces in the world. We also have M-Pricing, Great Place to Work's proprietary survey and reporting platform, which is the only employee experience platform built on 30 years of research, proven to help you quantify your organizational culture, measure employee engagement, and drive meaningful impact with your business and people. So what does being Great Place to Work certified brings you? Being Great Place to Work certified is proven to help organizations to attract and retain top talents, to elevate their employer brand to one that is fun, exciting, and provides a sense of purpose to all employees. Our clients also appreciate the partnership of journeying together with us in building their great company culture. So from the time that I started this webinar and up till the end, you'll be hearing me say Great Place to Work or a great workplace again and again. But what is a great workplace? What does that actually mean? A great workplace is one wherein you trust the people you work for, have pride in the work that you do, and enjoy the people that you work with. And to determine whether your organization is a great place to work, we use our Trust Index survey, employee survey. So this is where we look into your organization's quality of relationship within your organization. So in every organization, like yours included, if you think of yourself as employee in your company, there are actually 3 key relationships that you have. One, with your management. The second is your relationship with your peers or your colleagues. And third is your relationship with the job itself. So a great workplace is one that has credibility, respect, fairness, camaraderie, and pride. These are the 5 dimensions of a great place to work. And ultimately, what we believe is that it is the voice of your employees that determine if your organization is a great place to work, which is also to say that it is your employee experience that validates your employer brand. So having said that, allow me to introduce our guest, who I'm very much honored to be with us today. I actually do have a long, impressive bio to read about Cathy Ileto. But as I read about it, let me share with you three things that struck me personally about her. First is that Cathy Ileto is one with a pioneering spirit, and she's a key enabler. She was one of the key players who paved the way for global companies to set foot in the Philippines to mark our country as a destination of choice for digitally enabled services. So thanks to Cathy, her footprint and influence is seen in the booming Philippines IT BPM industry. Earlier in her professional career with ABS-CBN, Cathy also pioneered the country's first ever cable news channel, ANC, and the ultra-high frequency network Studio 23. So to most of us, Cathy is a familiar face as we used to watch her on television during prime time, on weekends, and on the trading floor every morning. Second thing about Cathy is that way before the word influencer was coined in the digital marketing space, Cathy is sure to be one influencer herself. A seasoned corporate marketing and public relations executive, she has been conferred with a gold standard in the public relations practice in the Philippines, the prestigious APR, or Accreditation in Public Relations, by the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. And just recently, Cathy was sworn in as elected board of trustee and director of the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. So congratulations to that, Cathy. Third point, Cathy is an admirable woman. She was recognized by the Filipino Women's Network as part of the Global 100 Most Influential Filipinas and was honored with the Builder Award in 2015 for being a positive force in the Philippine economy and an inspiration to many women, myself included. To me personally, having worked with Cathy the past few months, it is more than these accolades that she carries that makes her admirable for me. It is really her passion to help our country by generously sharing her valuable experiences to many. And that is what this webinar is exactly all about. It is Cathy sharing with us her experience and knowledge for us to learn. So without further ado, let us welcome Cathy Ileto. Hi, Cathy.
Hello, Tony.
Hi, Cathy.
I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm also happy to be here with you. Thank you, Cathy. If you remember, we started this conversation about starting a webinar at the beginning of the year. It took us longer than expected, and we are finally here. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Okay, Cathy, there are a lot of questions that I have for you, and I'm sure the audience who've joined us today also have questions. But if you don't mind, Cathy, I want to start by asking you something rather personal.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So Cathy, you have been a strong advocate of employer branding. Will you be able to share with us your story? Was there a time in your career or a specific instance when the importance of employer branding dawned on you?
Sure, Tony. As a communicator, I always think about how I can create that goodwill, or brand trust for my employer and my organization. And I'm fortunate to be given this job that I have where I can come up with public affairs programs, PR campaigns, and employee experience platforms, to do that primarily to create that goodwill towards our employees and other stakeholders. I remember it was about 15 years ago when I started this journey as an employer brand advocate. I was with one of the leading global pharmaceutical companies at that time. And the challenge that I was faced with was how I can enhance brand affinity amongst the employees when there's a lot of noise outside. This was the height of the cheap medicines bill issue. And we were demonized, so to speak, in media. And so, we had to, number one, do a temp check, what we call a brand perception audit amongst our employees, get the pulse of our employees and see if they still are very proud to work for our company. Okay? Second was work with the human resources team to come up with an employee engagement framework or strategy that would build pride and belongingness And again, the brand trust, which is the end in mind. Okay. And I'm happy to share that we've been awarded with several accolades as a result of this strategy that we deployed in the company. And there has to be what I call, Tony, brand champions, a tribe of influencers within the organization that would help you execute on that strategy. So, for like more than a decade now, I've been doing this as I move to, different organizations or across different industries that I've worked in. And to your point, I've become a very passionate employer brand advocate.
Thanks for sharing your story, Cathy. I'm sure it's much simpler now that as you share about it than how it was during that time when you were facing that controversy, right? And I like what you did in response to those controversies. It was actually commendable that what you did was you actually connected your employees to a sense of purpose, because it is important for employees to know the value that they bring to their organization and
That's
the
right.
impact that they are making to the bigger community, especially when, when times are tough, like what we're all going through right now.
That's right. I think, Tony, the best brand ambassador is your employees. And so before we embark on an aggressive, external marketing campaign, there's a saying, charity begins at home. And that's true.
Right. That's right.
You need to first build a strong employer brand value proposition before you manage your reputation outside of the company. And so that's how I strategized, during that crisis. We need to take care of the core, and that would be employee experience. And then dovetail external communication about, who you are as an organization. What do you stand for as a brand?
Take care of the core. That's a line that you said, which is very true, right? And you're right. I think that is really the mark of a successful employer brand. If your employee is able to resonate and connect with your employer brand. Tell us more about this.
There's this acronym, which is ESG, that we came to know as the environment, society, and governance, right, yes. Tony? But I think it could also mean employees, society, and government.
Nice, yeah.
Speaking from a public relations executive, a communicator, I would prioritize my employees first before anything else. And, given this pandemic that we are in, I would always tell my leaders and the ManCom, what are we doing to give our employees access to vaccines? Okay, are we looking at the safety and security of our employees? That's also part of the stakeholders that we need to prioritize. Second would be society. How are we contributing to our communities? Are we a responsible corporate citizen? What is our social impact agenda as a company? And finally, government. There's another saying that I'd like to, share, which is cannot sue City Hall, which is also true. I've been, working as a government affairs executive for a long time already. And I think, again, it really helps that you are a responsible corporate citizen and you find platforms to partner with government. Are you, also helping agencies of government who have, mandate to, take care of the education of your talent pool, for example? Are you working on, sustainable, measurable, and replicable social impact initiatives? And all the more during these times of transition and during this time of pandemic and health crisis, we need to really strengthen those core social impact initiatives. So there's this book that I wanted to also share with you. It's called, it's actually written by Rishad Tubakuwala. He's a very good author, and the book is called Restoring the Soul of Business, Staying Human in the Age of Data. He said there's a paradigm shift that's happening right now. Prior to COVID happening, we've already been dealing with the digital disruption globally. Now with COVID adding to the mix, right, of headwinds that we need to face as organizations, we find ourselves challenged in terms of engaging our employees in multiple locations. Some are working from home, some are working in physical offices and in distributed locations. And all the more we need to engage our employees and to retain top talent. So we need to think of a good culture initiative, and which is also at the heart of your employee experience, Tony.
That's right.
What is my culture looking like right now, given the pandemic in multiple work locations? No, in fact, there are companies that are really at the forefront of engaging their employees virtually. So I think that in the coming weeks, months, we will see more and more organizations will really transition to work from home. And again, the brick and mortar way of dealing with our employees in one location is already disrupted, no? And so I think, Tony, we need to also ask ourselves as leaders, am I upskilling myself?
That's right.
And am I emphatic enough as a leader in my organization? How do I, help in moving the needle, for example, when it comes to my employees' well-being and their mental health? In terms of, diversity and promoting inclusion. So all of these things, Tony, all play a pivotal role in, the changing times right now during these times of transition.
You shared a lot there, Cathy, and you're right. It's been more than a year since COVID happened. We've been hearing it again and again, have experienced it much longer than we expected, much longer than we wanted, and there's really been a lot of disruptions, and that what we are experiencing right now gave us a higher calling to as leaders to really help our employees in a different way, much more than what we've been doing in the past. Right? Like we're talking about well-being now, mental health issues, a lot of those things. And what I really hear you saying, Cathy, is that employer brand is strongly connected to employee experience. It's not just one of those values, or text on the wall that you see that this is employer brand, or you read on the newspaper. I don't know if anyone's still posting a newspaper for job ads, but not really on, like career website. It's not just that. It is what your employees actually experience when they are in the organization.
That's
guys,
right.
This reminds me of that story, which came first? Is it the chicken or the egg? It's a chicken or egg situation, right? So as a business leader or a marketing head and as HR professional, those who are joining us as an HR professionals, well, what do you work on first? Is it defining your employer brand? Or do you work on your employee experience first, and then that employer brand will just eventually come out? I personally feel that, they both feed on each other. What's your take on this, Cathy?
Yeah, Tony, you are correct. First of all, the employee experience should be there at the core. Because you know what, no matter how many trophies you have or awards, what the employees really say about you matters. And that's the beauty of GPTW. I've been joining all of these awards platforms for so long, but I would personally, recommend GPTW because I think it's really the gold standard in measuring your employer brand health, because it's the employees themselves who rate you. So no matter how beautiful the deck I send you, Tony, or how beautifully written the narrative and all of these aesthetics and creative support and photos or videos and the collaterals that I put together as a marketing executive, if in the survey we flunk our scores, then we still don't get certified.
That's true.
So this answers your question already. Branding, okay, is the positioning of the brand and the presentation, right? But if there's no substance, which is the employee experience, then you're still not an employer brand. So really what you need to do is, first of all, speaking from my experiences, I led a series of employee touch base and focus group discussions. And that's already part of my formula, and I strongly recommend to my fellow practitioners is really to get a brand perception audit in place. And you cannot pick up from thin air, when you put your strategy together. So once you have a baseline and data, then for me, again, this is from my personal experience, I would lean on, companies like GPTW who has already a framework. GPTW's 9 practice areas, Tony, I tell you, came in handy for me when I was doing it for my organization, because I said, it already has my job cut out for me. I need to align with these 9 practice areas. Am I celebrating milestones? Are we recognizing employees? Whether it's a small milestone like a work anniversary, what do we do when we recognize people for their birthdays, anniversaries, promotions? And do we have really a recognition strategy that is, up to par, right? And across the different locations, especially when you're a huge company. And you don't do everything, in silos, because you need to always appear, cohesive, right, to your employees. So it's a great barometer for me. And again, at the core of that is the trust that I've been saying since the beginning of this webinar, the brand trust. So that really helped me, Tony. It was like a compass for me to navigate my employee experience strategy.
Well, Cathy, it means a lot to me that hearing your experience using a Great Place to Work Trust Index model as well as the culture audit, that you found it valuable because you're very experienced, right? I just said earlier that there's a long, impressive bio that I read about you. But really, it is your experience that also just resonates and validates that what a real strong employer brand is validated by the voice of your employees, nothing else. It's not just an entry form that you fill out, submit, and then you are recognized by a third party. It must be no less than your employees saying that, yes, I do have a consistent, great workplace experience coming to this organization and working here. So I really appreciate that.
And it's also credible, no? It's a credible platform, if I may add, because it's you who decide which employee will get the survey. It's not a process where I will give you a list of people that we want surveyed. That's not how it works. There's a science behind it, and very credible, because there's a platform called In Pricing, which is proprietary to GPTW, that we have no way of manipulating whatsoever.
Consultants definitely don't have way.
Yeah. So I'm not like diminishing the award platforms, because I'm grateful that all the awards that I've participated in, really, they're all very prestigious. And it's a feather on my cap, a feather on the cap of my companies that I've worked for. But certification, again, is something different, because there you will be assessed in 9 areas by the employees themselves. And you need to go past a certain grade to be certified.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm happy to hear, and I want to encourage our audience as well. Like you can see it on the screen, we'll flash it again, the 9 practice area. So it's not just about hearing the voice of your employees, but also having this as a guide on what you can do to create that employee experience that you want for your people, right? It sounds simple and very generic, to be honest, right? Like how are you able to, as a manager, how can you help create that great workplace experience for your employees? It is by inspiring them, especially right now, right? Like we've been hearing a lot about people having anxieties, feeling depressed. As a leader ourselves, of course, first and foremost, we also need to take care of ourselves, but we go that extra mile and inspire people, speak and listen to them, give them that time to speak to us, and not just on a about work, but also in the personal level. And it goes on, like you've mentioned earlier, celebrating with them. And it also starts in the hiring process, being able to hire talent that also fits in the culture, not just fit in the culture, but can also grow together with the culture that we have in our organization. So this 9 practice areas you've said, Cathy, is a very good guide for organizations as they build their employer brand and their employee experience.
That's right, Tony. It's like a compass for marketing and HR executives.
That's right. Yeah. Cathy, so if you remember, right? So we've been working closely the past couple of months, and the very first time that you engaged with Great Place to Work, you had Sutherland Great Place to Work certified.
That's right.
How was the experience like?
Well, it's a feat and an accomplishment because it was a first try.
That's right.
And, as a project manager and project lead for this whole initiative, of course, I was overwhelmed and I'm glad that we planned a year for this. I already had that at the back of my head that I have 1 full year to build that strategy and the engine, so to speak, to build that sense of pride and belongingness. And as I've said, followed the wheel that you showed, the 9 practice areas. And it was a great journey. And all I can, share is that we are a better company, because of this certification. Even if, for example, you don't get certified, the mere fact that you've gone through that journey in trying to become a great place to work, that already makes you a winner. That already makes you a great place to work, And, again, that's the core, right? The many employee touch base that we've conducted. I remember even doing virtual film showings for them. And, a lot of the other activities around, creating a tribe of ambassadors for us. You've seen it in the employee testimonials that I've submitted to you, Tony. I drafted the culture audit myself, and I've been very passionate in putting together the narrative. And as you can see, our employees themselves were very, very proud of our journey to becoming GPTW certified.
It is really, a simple step. The main work is, as you've said, starting from the very beginning of crafting your employee value proposition, working together with HR, different stakeholders, to refine and build and refine your employee experience around that EVP that you wanted to have. That is the main work. But being certified, really, it's a process of validating something that you've already built for your organization. You can see on the screen the 3 easy steps, like just to survey your employees, the trust index survey that you've mentioned, Cathy, completing a culture brief for a great place to work to get to know your organization, and completing the culture audit, which is mainly about that 9 practice area. Or last year, it was really about that COVID-19 response that organizations had. Cathy, I know that you said really it was a feat, right? Getting that through that certification. Not because, not only because it takes a lot to create that culture that you wanted, but also because there was a pandemic. So
Yes.
from your from your experience, Cathy, is there really a good time? When is the best time to get your organization certified?
Tony, the best time is now, not to procrastinate and to just go for it. When I was really researching, about employee certifications 2 years ago, I came across different providers, right? And I was looking at GPTW and your website, and I really admired, the framework and the formula that you have. So, amongst the other providers, if you recall, I immediately connected with you and had you guys, accredited and go through the process. And my intention was, whether we get certified or not, I'll still push through with this strategy, with, working on creating that sense of pride and belongingness in our organization. And, there's really no good time if you think about it, right? Because you would want to retain top talent. You would want to become, an employer of choice. And maybe I can also share the benefits, Tony, of doing it, early. Again, we've seen a lot of improvement, when it comes to the employee surveys that we conduct, which is regularly, I think it was twice a year, right? So we also timed it in such a way where people are not going to experience survey fatigue. Okay, so that's important.
Yeah.
And then, you'll see how proud they are posting on their social media network. Sometimes I get tagged by our employees, on LinkedIn, reposting my post about, us becoming certified as GPTW, and tagged on Facebook. And you'll see how inspired they are. So one benefit of doing it now is really the pride, the employee pride. It's very, very important. And you need that factor to inspire them, because,
especially right now, right? Yeah.
Yes, because of what's happening right now. So any story that would uplift their spirits, and get that pride back, that would be very good. Also, when you get certified, then you have that logo on all your recruitment tools and assets. So if you're like a large company and you're, or even, a small company, doesn't matter, and you'd want to hire people to join your organization, then you can use that GPTW logo, no? And I think also it's worth mentioning that from a business development standpoint, clients prefer working with companies who are employers of choice.
That's correct. Yeah. Cathy, thanks for sharing the benefits from your perspective, right? I want to flash this slide. As you know, Cathy, and I think some of the audience also know about this, just recently we published our Insights Report, 2021 Philippines Best Workplaces Insights Report. And here on the screen, what you should be seeing now is that what are the experiences of Philippines Best Workplaces? Those are the ones in the blue bar, versus organizations that did not make it on the list, or what we coined as the rest of the organizations. And you've mentioned that some of the benefits of having a strong employer brand and having that great employee experience are talent attraction, right? You're able to attract key talents into your organization. And we can see this very clearly that 96% of employees in a best workplaces, they are proud to tell others that they work for this company, for their company. And then talent retention, you've also mentioned this. We want to retain our top talents, especially right now. And you can see the difference, 92% of employees from best workplaces, they say that they want to work in their organization for a long time, versus 82% of other organizations. Again, 9 in every 10 employees in a best workplace say that they look forward. They don't just only want to stay there, but they actually look forward to work, to coming to work every day versus only 7 to 8% in other organizations. And Cathy, earlier on at the beginning of this session, he also mentioned the importance of having that sense of purpose. And it is very important because that's really what keeps us going, right? Like having that deep sense of purpose for what we do. And you can see here in the last bar, 95% of employees from Philippines' best workplaces, they say that they do feel good about the way that they are able to contribute to the community. So it goes beyond their own organization, what they're doing for the company, their colleagues, but what are they actually doing for the community, for the Philippines in general, even as compared to those who did not make it on the list. So really clearly creating that strong employer brand, which translates to a fantastic workplace experience for your employees. And again, the cycle continues and then further strengthens your brand. It gives us this benefits. And this is just to name a few. This is not all the benefits that there are for you as you create that great workplace experience for your employees.
That's right, Tony. Thanks for sharing that slide.
Yeah, and for those who have not downloaded a copy of the Insights report, actually to all attendees, we will be sending you the link to be able to download, and you'll be able to read more and hear from best workplaces themselves, like what have they done, right? So Cathy, at this point, I think we've already strongly established what is an employer brand. We've talked about how to create a strong employer brand, which is really the core of it is an employee experience. And we've already talked about the benefits of having a strong employer brand. We just showed them the chart. Now, maybe let's talk a bit more about building a strong employer brand. I want to go back to the how and talk more about this. Maybe we can start with the key stakeholders, right? Who are the key stakeholders in creating a strong employer brand from your experience? Is it a marketing job? Is it HR? Is it, which function in the organization?
So, it's a very relevant question. Sometimes, there's always that question, is it the HR head's job or do I initiate as a marketing head,
Yeah.
And the answer to that is it's really a tripartite, framework. The CEO, again, serves as your executive sponsor because no matter how passionate your HR person is or the marketing head is, if there's no buy-in from the highest ranking executive, then it won't be successful. You have to remember that. So there is an executive sponsor, which is the CEO or general manager, the president, and then the HR person and the marketing person works hand in hand. The HR team would be very important in creating the day-to-day employee engagement initiatives, making sure that they are, doing the recognition that needs to be done. The communication piece is also very important as a marketing practitioner. You need to weigh in if they are, still on the right path when they communicate the employer brand, right? Are they on brand? So you become the strategist. And you make sure that not just on brand in terms of like the communication or the messaging, but are they really aligned with who you want to become, right? With your brand promise. And it's always good to review, Tony, step back and assess if your brand is still relevant to your employees. If the brand value proposition still resonates with your employees. Sometimes you need to take risks and localize. I remember doing this, I think in 2015 when we came up with a campaign, which again, after we launched it, earned or generated several recognitions from industry and government. And instead of those foreign concepts and foreign words in terms of, the execution, we localized it and used powerful Filipino work ethics and values like malasakit, for example, bayanihan, and Descarte, which became like a catalyst, right, to roll out
That's
your
nice.
employer brand. Since, a lot of our employees were in the provinces, and the provincial model is really what we are, pursuing, then it was very, very successful. Okay, so we just found out that, there were a lot of people using the hashtags on social media. They were very proud of, wearing those t-shirts. And again, from like recruitment to employee engagement, everybody toed the line. So another successful engagement from an employer brand standpoint, Tony. So, that's what I can share as far as, the stakeholders are concerned. It starts with the HR, marketing teams, and then your recruitment follows, right? And the other stakeholders, everyone should be aligned in terms of, how they execute the employer brand strategy.
I totally agree with you, Cathy. So one of the things that makes me excited about this session with you is that you are a marketing person and you are a communicator, whereas I am an HR professional all my life. And I've been doing this for many years, over a decade now. And there's a point wherein I tell my clients that, because I work closely with clients, senior leaders themselves in creating that employee experience in response to the survey findings, right? So we do action planning, we do interventions, but then guess what? After a year or two, when it's time to run the survey, employees forgot everything that we've implemented. And so it came to a point that I would tell my clients, hey, you know what? Employee engagement is also a marketing function. HR cannot just do it. We need communicators to, help us emphasize this. And we've seen organizations who are very good in their campaigns, really communicating very well what is their employee promise, what are we doing, and that helps retain, what the organization is doing in response to what feedback we received. And it's really just tightening things up together, working together, right? And to be honest, Cathy, I'd also want to go even farther than that. It's not just marketing, HR, and leaders. It's also employees themselves.
Yes. Right? So I think I made mention about the tribe, of ambassadors.
Yes.
They're very important. You work with your HR heads to identify who are those advocates. If I may share with you, I have, of course, we have several employee clubs. We call them e-councils. And again, as part of our journey to becoming a great place to work, one of the initiatives that I've done was like an art for a cause initiative. And we have a lot of those artists inside the organization, and they're very influential also. So we raised funds, and each of the site donated to a charitable institution of their choice. So it was really a great, social media event as well, because the auction was happening on Facebook. People were posting their paintings and their, bidding for that particular artwork and painting. Right?
That's so nice.
So, it's a very powerful thing when you have ambassadors to work with within the organization.
Cathy, there's one question from the audience that I think is quite timely and relevant to what we're discussing at this point. So the question was, how can we position Great Place to Work certified positively so we can gain buy-in from our employees? So just to answer the question, what's in it for them?
Pride and belongingness. It's very important that your employees are proud that they are working for a company that's an employer of choice. And I think also, if I can share my experience getting approvals, to go through the certification. Not everyone in your organization would have an appreciation of the marketing function. That's the reality. Some people are really just, focused on, their P&L, right? And getting the day-to-day thing, the mundane tasks, getting them done. But it's important, like what I said, to also create champions within your leadership team. Find out who they are, who has an appreciation of the communications function and employer branding. and make them your champions as well, so that, you know, you can have a lot of them, and you can replicate, right, your initiatives across the organization. You've got operation heads, for example, finance heads. What I've done personally is, I think this will help. I've conducted road shows just to get the buy-in of the different stakeholders in the leadership team. So what I did was, I did a roadshow first for all the HR heads across the different locations. We had 10 locations. So it was like this, a webinar with me, explaining to them, you know, why employer branding matters and what is GPTW. And then I did another round of road shows with those other enabling functions, like even facilities and admin, finance, even procurement. And I just had a lot of, like, you know, inputs after the webinar that I conducted, or the town hall. And it was a validation that I really had to do it, because it's still very nascent to a lot of people, you know, employer branding. They think that, you know, when you are already a huge company, you don't need to do this. So aside from this, I also led a town hall. So I was telling my HR, can you help me facilitate a town hall? And I convened all of the tribe of, you know, influencers we have within the organization. So, you know, personally, I've learned a lot. I think we've identified over 50 influencers in the company. And what we did was convened a town hall specific to those 50 influencers in the company. Wow. So when I got their buy-in, it was very easy already for us to, you know, execute on this.
Yeah. So it's really finding your, you know, the other advocates that you would have within the company, and after you've, like a true communicator that you are, explaining it to them, getting their buy-in, then you were able to gain many other advocates who helped you. And really, it's that sense of pride. I agree with you, because it's something that cannot be denied, and it's something that's also contagious that we want to have, you know, in the organization. Cathy, right. Another question. Where is that question? And this is about employee experience, right, in the context of what's happening right now in the Philippines. What are the things that we can do to improve our employees' experience, especially in this time that employees are always anxious and not really at their best?
That's true. You know, there's a mental health policy, in fact, you know, released by the Department of Labor and Employment. And what's important here is, first of all, to get the leaders on board. They need to be trained how to detect or assess their teams. You know, if they have a hint of, you know, depression, if they're going through anxiety. And then it's also important that you come up with creative ways to virtually engage them. Recently, I partnered with a foundation that works with, you know, diversity and inclusion initiatives. So we came up with virtual film showings within the organization. And that's nice because, like, at a certain time, there are 3 movies that we share with them. And we have a focus group discussion after each movie. And, you know, what they think of the movie and their personal experiences relating to the movie. And, you know, it was a great initiative. And again, you know, it could be sending chairs to your employees that would make them more comfortable working from home, you know, and different things, you know, like sending e-vouchers for them to buy coffee, and little things like that really help a lot.
This probably last question that I will read is also to your response, Cathy, just now. How can we maintain a positive employer brand despite initiating cost efficiency measures such as reduced workdays, placing people on temporary leave without pay for some period, all of these things caused by the pandemic?
That's true. I think nobody's, resilient enough, right? Or, nobody expected this to happen. So the companies had to really figure out, how to deal with the pandemic. And again, the important thing is, I think, communication.
That's right.
If we keep, hiding or covering up, right, and we're not as transparent, then it won't help. But we need to provide access as well to our employees to connect with us. And,
that's right.
That's very, very important. Transparency and accountability and communicating and over-communicating with them.
I totally agree, Cathy. Again,
and it's one of the 9 practice areas, by the way.
That's right. Yes. And I also want to say that it is also about, that great place to work model. It's about that trust. It's about building, strengthening that relationship that you have within the organization. And sometimes we feel that, we need budget, but really it's just that time and having that personal touch, communicating to your employees, being vulnerable even as leaders to connect and share your even personal experiences, so that your employees also know that you're not alone. I'm also
doing the
same thing. Even that helps create that employer brand, and I'm very sure it could be well aligned with your employer brand as well, right? Communicating trust, building relationship with your people. So those are the things I think that we can share as an advice, and it's proven. Best workplaces have that. Active communication. Leaders go down the line. Communicate, as you said, over communicate with their employees firsthand. Those are important things.
That's true.
Cathy, there are other questions. Some are very specific to their organization, which I think as commitment, we'll just share it with Cathy offline as we're also running out of time. But
what I can do is send my responses to you, Tony, and then you can send it back to them.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much, Cathy. Really appreciate that. So thank you for your time. And before we close, I just want to invite everyone to join our How to Get Certified webinar. So this would give you more idea on what are the 3 easy steps to get your company Great Place to Work certified. We do this bi-weekly. The next one will be 2 weeks time, June 2nd, 2021 at 2 p.m. And you can register by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen or going to ourgreatplacetowork.com.ph website. And also, as I've mentioned, this is a 2-part webinar series. Today, we're very honored to have Cathy Ileto share from her personal experience. And in 2 weeks' time, Sam White, HR Director from Ingram Micro, will also join us and share with us a case study of how Ingram Micro built an employer brand that works. So Ingram Micro calls it Step into Greatness, and it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be another very good learning session for everyone. So we really want to invite you once again to join us. That will be on June 2nd, 4 p.m. You can register by scanning to the QR code. And Cathy, thank you so much.
You're
really
most
appreciate
welcome.
having you here.
Thank you for having me also.
Thank you so much, everyone. And if you have any question, please feel free to email us. And have a good day and take care. Bye.